Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video we got another tier list, and this has been one that I've been teasing for a minute now. However, I think after UFC 300, after we've kind of all seen the highlight KO of Max Holloway over Justin Gaethje, I think this is the perfect time to do it. And that is, of course, the UFC BMF tier list. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm not just going to be rating every single fighter that was the BMF champion. I'm going to be going through every single UFC weight class, picking at least one person from that division that I believe would have been the BMF of their respective division. They're either a champion or just somebody that I think has that BMF aura. I guess that'd be the best way to explain it. And a few fighters from the old days, the golden age, that I believe should have been a BMF, continuing that lineage. That's going to be the intro for this video. I don't want to make it too long. Let's get started out of here. You'll get the gist of it as we're going. Number one, we're going to start with the lighter weight classes, and we're going to slowly go over Alexandre Pantoja. As far as like a BMF, the problem is UFC flyweight, the marketing dollars is just not there yet. It really isn't. So it's kind of hard to put Pantoja anywhere, but if I had to pick one person from the flyweight division, it would be Pantoja. I mean, like, what's his competition really? There's Brandon Royval, and you can make an argument for Brandon Royval, but I wouldn't put him as the BMF over Pantoja. For me, Pantoja, I think he would be the BMF title holder. However, as far as like BMF aura, probably a C+, honestly. A C+ BMF aura. I'm just not super feeling it there. Petr Yan. Petr Yan 100% would have the BMF title at that division. I think the only other person that would be in the running would be like a Cheeto. I think Cheeto would have kind of like that, has that BMF aura. But Petr Yan, let's not forget. A few years ago, Petr Yan, in a lot of people's eyes, was going to be the guy to become the bantamweight GOAT. Until tragedy struck and he threw that knee. But that's a BMF move right there. And would put... If every division had one BMF champion, I believe Petr Yan would be it for bantamweight. O'Malley's not even in the running. I don't think I really have to make an argument there. I'm going to put him at a B+. I think he has a relatively good argument to make. The only problem that I have with him is I feel like marketability. You need to be marketable in terms of just how you can handle yourself on the microphone to be a BMF. Well, let's be real here. If we look at everybody who's fought for the BMF title, they're either super exciting, that's Petr Yan, or good at the microphone. And Petr Yan's mid. I'm going to say mid at the microphone, but an exciting fighter. So I'm going to put him at a B to B+. Ilia Topuria? Ilia Topuria is a BMF. Dude, I think I'm going to have to put him at mid to low B tier in terms of his BMF ability. Okay? Like, he hasn't done what a lot of the other BMFs have done. Justin Gaethje has had all-out wars. Every fight that he's been has been fireworks. Ilia Topuria, yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just not getting that oomph from it. It's better than Pantoja. Make no mistake about it. Better than Pantoja. But overall, I don't know if I would put him as the BMF, especially not over featherweight, because that goes to Max Holloway. Max Holloway is an S-tier BMF. I mean, like, the resume of Max Holloway is absolutely insane. I would argue Max Holloway's resume can go pound for pound with any other UFC fighter. The only other UFC fighter that I would argue has a better resume would probably be like a Dustin Poirier. Only because Max Holloway didn't get the fight Khabib. Like it is that crazy. I mean, like, Max Holloway has fought legends of the sport. Now, I'm not saying he beat him. He did beat Jose Aldo, lost to Alexander Volkanovski, lost to Dustin Poirier, but he's fought these guys. I think in terms of resume, the amount of fights he's taken, the wars that he's provided us, the bonuses he's earned, I gotta put him in an S-tier BMF. And he is our newest BMF, and yeah, I'd put him in S-tier. Alexander Volkanovski. The reason that Volkanovski's on here is I do believe he is we're starting to discredit him. We're going into like that discredit era of every UFC's life cycle, every UFC fighter's life cycle. Happened with Jose Aldo, but now it's become kind of a thing online to pretend like you were always a Jose Aldo follower, even though most of you weren't. Same thing with Demetrious Johnson. Nobody cared about Demetrious Johnson until he left the UFC. I think that's going to be the case with Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski will be fully appreciated when he's no longer fighting, because for the longest time he was not appreciated, and finally, when he was a fan favorite, he took Islam Makhachev on short notice. As far as BMF ability, as much as I like the dude, he just doesn't have that aura of BMF. He doesn't. Like, Pantoja kind of has, like, I killed a man type of look to him. Volkanovski more or less seems like a normal dude. Actually, not D tier, not D tier. I don't know if anyone will be in D tier. I'll actually have to think about that one. But I'm going to say Volkanovski below Pantoja. Volkanovski's better than Pantoja. Understand this. The BMF ability is more aura than anything. Pantoja looks like he's killed a man. Volkanovski kind of looks like the dad at the barbecue. Justin Gaethje, A tier. A tier BMF. I mean, most bonuses in UFC history, ones that one has gotten them as consistently as you could possibly do it. Wars against Dustin Poirier, Michael Johnson, Eddie Alvarez, and now a war against, well, I don't know about a war, a good fight against Max Holloway. All that being considered, I would put him as an A tier. I did pick him to beat Max Holloway, and it does suck that he did lose, but I gotta put Justin Gaethje as an A to A+. I mean, how are you not gonna put him there? Dustin the highlight Poirier, damn. Dustin the Diamond Poirier. This one's tough. I'm going to put him at B+. The fact is I can understand why people were picking Dustin Poirier to beat Justin Gaethje. I picked Justin Gaethje to beat Dustin because I think we know now Justin Gaethje improved enough to beat Dustin, where Dustin stayed relatively the same most of his career. But again, resume is absolutely insane. But Justin Gaethje, with the bonuses that he's been able to receive, I got to put him in A tier, and that aura's there. As far as Dustin Poirier, high B tier, probably our highest B tier, B+. If you get in the A tier, you got to go above Dustin Poirier. Just barely makes the line. Michael Chandler. Honestly, D tier. I might have to say D tier. He would have been higher. He might be the one D tier out of here. Because I just don't know. Like, the marketability is he's an exciting fighter, okay? He doesn't have that, like, he's nice, and it's almost like an American Psycho type of nice. Like, I feel like there's some skeletons in his closet, but he seems like too cool of a dude. But, like, Max Holloway does he's too cool of a dude, but you know that he's a mother effer. As far as Michael Chandler, exciting fights. I just feel like with the Conor McGregor fight promotion, like, I don't know how you're going to promote that fight, because what it looks like to a fan is that Michael Chandler is begging for a fight against Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor's giving him a payday. Like, that's not a BMF thing. Justin Gaethje, if Justin Gaethje was in the same, like, problem as Michael Chandler was, Justin Gaethje would have fought twice already. I mean, Justin Gaethje was in line for a title shot against Islam Makhachev, and he decided to do a fight against Max Holloway that ultimately kind of, like, now he can't fight for the title, which is sad. But that just shows a difference in mentality. Plus, Justin Gaethje did beat Michael Chandler, so I'm going to put him in D tier. Conor McGregor, I'm gonna put Conor above Chandler in terms of BMF ability. At this point in his career, I'll put him above Volkanovski because I do believe Conor McGregor is more of a bad dude, I guess that we could put there. Above a Pantoja, most people would give Conor McGregor above that. Above an Ilia Topuria, I mean, like, there's recency, though. If we're going off prime, Conor McGregor would have been an A to S, but in terms of right now, I put him in mid to low B tier in terms of BMF ability. Now, granted, you can come out tomorrow and be like, Conor McGregor's going to fight for the 165-pound title, which they might do, in all honesty. Like, that is something that could actually happen, and maybe I'll put him up there. I want to see Conor McGregor fight, and then I can accurately put him above. But as of right now, recency bias and everything, Ilia Topuria, I'm going to put above Conor McGregor in terms of BMF ability. Jorge Masvidal, C tier. C tier. Like, yeah, here's the thing, you guys. Jorge Masvidal, in terms of being a BMF, like, you got to understand this. He got the BMF belt when he was in the height of his hype. After the Ben Askren KO, after the Darren Till win, understand the UFC was almost obligated to make Masvidal into a star. How I would describe the difference in treatment after the Darren Till and Ben Askren fight, you know how Chito Vera went from being an absolute no-name to he got a win over O'Malley and then he became a household name? Imagine that, but times 2. That was what Masvidal's career was like. He went from being an absolute no-name nobody for the majority of his career, and then he gets a KO over Ben Askren, a win over Darren Till, and then he goes, I was a fan of him all along. No, you weren't. Most people didn't know who Jorge Masvidal was until he got that win. They gave him the BMF title to make a super fight against Nate Diaz because they wanted to do a fun gimmick, and that is what's kind of made the legacy of Masvidal. Probably the most successful journeyman in UFC history, only ever challenged by the next dude on this list, Nate Diaz. I would put Nate Diaz above Masvidal in terms of BMF ability. I understand they're both thugs, criminals. I understand they're both kind of in that category. But there's something about Nate Diaz that I just buy it a little bit more. I'm not denying anything about Masvidal, but in terms of BMF ability, there's something just about Nate Diaz, that like Stockton 205, that was just always a little bit closer to that aura that we're looking for here. Masvidal, the magic of Masvidal goes away the moment you realize entirety, everything that he's done in his career, kind of just... It really is. He had 2 fights against Kamaru Usman that he lost. Lost to Colby Covington. Lost to Gilbert Burns. Darren Till win. Wonder Boy win. And Ben Askren. Like, that was the entirety of his career. Nate Diaz at least has... He's fought some dudes. Colby Covington. Unpopular opinion. Colby Covington versus Masvidal should have been for the BMF title. I have no clue why they couldn't agree on that. Because that was a main event of a UFC Miami. Masvidal had the BMF title at the time. Colby Covington, I would argue at that time, was the only dude that could challenge for the BMF title. But they just didn't decide to do it because Masvidal, I guess, just didn't. I think Masvidal said something like, Colby Covington doesn't deserve to be the BMF, and they just dropped it. And that's one reason why the BMF title is more of a gimmick title than ever. Purely because of that, because Masvidal had it and never wanted to put it up for grabs because that was the only belt that he ever ended up getting in his career. Where Justin Gaethje put it on the line every time he fought somebody. I hope Max Holloway puts the BMF title up for grabs. Like, I understand people are cringing at the thought of Ilia Topuria possibly getting the BMF title. But the fact is, like, if Max Holloway gets KO'd by Ilia Topuria, I would argue Ilia deserves to get the belt if he wins via KO against Max Holloway, something that's never happened before. I would argue that's BMF worthy. But as far as Masvidal never put up for grabs, and that's why people think it's a joke. Colby Covington should have been the BMF title holder. However, he kind of has the same problem that Masvidal has, although to less of a degree. Most impressive wins of Colby Covington. Masvidal, Damian Maia, a close fight against Kamaru Usman, and that's about it. I'm sorry, like the Leon Edwards fight honestly pushes you down. I'm going to put you right next to your boy Masvidal in terms of BMF ability. Next up, Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman at his height is a sleeper pick, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. Kamaru Usman at his height, the Nigerian Nightmare, 100% was a sleeper pick in terms of being a BMF. I would put Kamaru Usman above a Colby Covington in terms of BMF at his height. Now, granted, not quite in our B tier. Probably a high C tier. To be a BMF, you got to be above a Kamaru Usman. Now, why do I say that? Kamaru Usman, although you can wrap up his entire title run, you can sum it up like this. 2 fights with Masvidal, 2 fights with Colby, a fight against Gilbert Burns, and a loss against Leon. The fact is, Kamaru Usman was a menace for a little bit. Beat Tyron Woodley at his height. I'm going to put Kamaru Usman at the top of C tier. Took every fight that he was given, but outside of that, I mean, yeah, top of C tier. Strickland, BMF. Okay, the Israel Adesanya win, that does catapult him in a lot, and the fact that he's able to utilize his character, like, to the point, I don't even know what I want to call it a character. The fact that he is just so real on the microphone, it gets him as a fan favorite. Honestly, if they did crown him as the BMF, okay, and the fact he has the quickest turnaround in modern UFC history when it comes to main events. Was the main event, I believe he was the main event against Jared Cannonier, lost that fight. Very next month, he was the first fight of the year against Imavov. Dog, that's a BMF-worthy thing to do, to come off a 1-month fight. Like a 1-month training camp to go fight. I'm actually going to put Sean Strickland. You can make a pretty strong case that Strickland should be the BMF over middleweight. And I'm going to defend this. He should, like, you can really make an argument that he's the BMF over the middleweight division. The unofficial BMF. Israel Adesanya. Listen, there's 2 different Israels. If you're going to talk about where I believe Israel was the closest to being a BMF, I would probably say contender Adesanya was an absolute menace when he was coming up in that division. Championship Adesanya, where he got a little bit comfortable and realized that he could point fight to a decision all the time. Yeah, he lost some of his BMF ability. I'm going to put Israel Adesanya in terms of like BMF rankings, honestly. Oh, I don't even know. Okay, he's too like I can't. Like, don't get me wrong, he's one of the best strikers, and this is I just not getting the BMF aura from Israel like I am some of these other guys. I'll put him above Michael Chandler, though. The fact is Michael Chandler, his fight promotion ability's kind of been at an all-time low, because how do you promote the counter fight? Next up, Jan Blachowicz. I don't understand people are forgetting about Jan. Jan was a BMF. Jan, you can make an argument Jan was definitely a BMF over heavyweight for a while until the Glover fight. Not heavyweight, light heavyweight. I'm going to put Jan Blachowicz just above a Masvidal. Like, here's the thing. If you look, like, Jan Blachowicz definitely has, like, that badass Polish power look to him. He has that. Like, if you look, to take a picture of Jan Blachowicz and Jorge Masvidal next to each other, and you tell me who should have the BMF belt. Jan Blachowicz is a scary dude. Takes every leg, bro. He'll break your leg because he'll just take it. He'll hurt your leg kick with his sin bone. I'm gonna put Jan Blachowicz as a middle C tier though, just because he lacks some of the presence that the higher level guys have. Alex Pereira, S tier, actually S tier, dude. Should be like I don't know how he wouldn't be. Dude, he came into the UFC, absolutely wasted zero time, has he really knocked out? Yeah, he's knocked out 5 different champions. Strickland? Yep, nope, sorry, 4. But he's knocked out 4 champions, he's fought 5 of them. KO'd Son Strickland, finished Israel Adesanya, took Jan Blachowicz to a decision, that's the one that I messed up on, KO'd Yuri Prochazka, and KO'd Jamal Hill. All of those guys were former champions. Like, people will complain that he was fast-tracked and that's Dana White privilege. The fact is every single fight that they gave him, and I'll tell you this right now, they didn't expect him to beat Jan. I guarantee you. The Jan fight, they were legitimately surprised he won because he served his purpose for the UFC, and that was to give Israel Adesanya a payday. So when he didn't do a trilogy, they gave him Jan, somebody stylistically that should be able to beat him. And when Alex Pereira did win, they were like, oh shit, we have a pay-per-view star. And then he KOs Yuri. So I'm going to put Alex Pereira as an S tier. I mean, like, Chama. Are you really going to disagree with that? Jamal Hill. Tough. This is a very tough ranking, I'm going to be honest with you. Jamal Hill's a funny dude. And I do believe he's still an underrated pick. I think a lot of people are dunking on him right now. The fact is Masvidal's that's a big order. It hurts, bro. This is somebody that's been defending Jamal Hill for a minute. I'm actually going to put him at the damn near bottom of D tier. I mean, listen, he got power. He's a scary dude. But at the same time, bro, we lost some of the BMF aura. Pereira stole all your BMF aura. Jan Blachowicz took him to a decision. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I got to put you in D tier. Tom Aspinall. We're into the heavyweight division. Tom Aspinall, that's a tough one. Tom Aspinall, nice dude. He's too nice. That's the problem. Like, I'm putting him, like... But Max Holloway's a BMF, and he's an S tier. But, okay, Max Holloway has a crazy, crazy resume, dude. Like, the resume gets him up to that S tier. Tom Aspinall, as much as I'd like to do. Sergey Pavlovich has that fight. He's going to do another fight with Curtis Blades. Alexander Volkov. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The resumes aren't even close. And he's just too nice of a guy. I feel like if he wanted to take the heel, he could. But I'll put him right next to Volkanovski. Like, here's the thing. Tom Aspinall is a very imposing dude. And he could make a BMF turn, but he's just too nice of a guy. He really is. He's too nice. John Jones. BMF. Dog, he's an actual criminal. Like, come on. Like, if the BMF title was a thing, I mean, like, legitimately, John Jones is an S tier. Like, S tier over heavyweight, and he would have been the S tier over light heavyweight the only person that would beat him out, honestly, would probably be an Alex Pereira. So you either put John Jones at A+, or you put him at the bottom of A tier. Just because he does have that aura of BMF around him. Like, he has that more than anybody. Derek Lewis. If I had to choose somebody that didn't have the title, Derek Lewis would probably be the guy. Didn't have an interim, didn't have a heavyweight belt. That's why Tom Aspinall and John Jones are here. If I had to pick somebody that didn't have a belt, honestly, Derek Lewis would make a pretty good case. Funny dude, has the most KOs in heavyweight history. That means something. Has a pretty good resume, but has some losses. I'm going to put Derek Lewis at the top of D tier. Top of D tier. Yeah, I think that's fair. Now we're getting into the women's. Okay, I'm just going to rapid fire through these because the fact is every single BMF, women's BMF, honestly, was either a title holder or is still a title holder. Let's just rapid fire through them. I don't think any of you guys are going to disagree with me. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, A tier. Well, yeah, I got to put her in A tier, dude. Amanda Nunes, if I had to pick one women's BMF to rule them all, honestly, Amanda Nunes, S tier. Valentina Shevchenko, high B tier. I understand, but Joanna has the more intimidating presence, okay? And finally, Chris Cyborg. Okay, this is the entirety of women's MMA. In all honesty, that's the entirety of women's MMA. I know it's crazy that they have half of A tier, but understand this is all they have. It's like the drop-off of BMF ability, okay, is such a steep drop-off in women's MMA. It's them four, and everybody else is kind of just a women's MMA fighter. I'm sorry. And finally, we're going into the golden age. We're going to be taking some fighters that I think they were a BMF. They had to be a BMF at their time. Chuck Liddell. Okay, Chuck Liddell. Oh, there we go. Chuck Liddell. I'm going to put Chuck Liddell in high A tier, dude. Chuck Liddell at that time would have been a BMF. He's just not quite at that S tier that somebody else on this list is going to be. But I'm going to put him at a high A tier. Probably just behind Justin. Yeah, behind Justin Gaethje. Wanderlei Silva, the axe murderer. That's cold. He has one of the scariest stare downs in UFC history against Mirko Cro Cop. I'm going to put Wanderlei, honestly, in terms of all time. In terms of all time, you could argue an S tier. I'm going to put him at the top of A tier. Chael Sonnen, in terms of marketability, you had to put him up there. Wanderlei did beat Chael Sonnen, I know. Yeah. I mean, maybe he was undefeated. I'll put him tied. Right, Wanderlei and Chael Sonnen right next to each other. Anderson the Spider Silva is 100% S tier BMF. At his height, he was absolutely terrifying. He lost to himself. I want you to think about that. He lost to himself. And finally, our last of the golden age of fighters, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was 100% a BMF, above a Chris Cyborg, above a Joanna Jędrzejczyk, above a Strickland. Is he above Chuck Liddell? No, Chuck Liddell. I gotta put Chuck Liddell above him. And that is going to be the BMFs of the UFC for my BMF UFC tier list. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think about my placement? I went off aura and vibes, okay? Not a crazy criteria, but if I show you a picture of Alex Pereira, you tell me if you think he's a BMF. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. What's a fighter that you think missed out on here? Off the top of my head, you could have put a Mirko Cro Cop, but this is looking pretty stacked as is. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all next time. Adios, guys.